Hello and welcome to another EDH gameplay video by Ready Made Gaming. Today we have Rico of Two Reflections being piloted by Joe versus Yuriko of the Tiger Shadow being piloted by myself. I am on the draw here, so Joe is obviously on the play. His opening hand has a Jace Bellerin, a Carpet of Flowers, a Wilderness Reclamation, an Arcane Denial, Halimar Depths, Forest, and an Island. I have an Island, a Lotus Petal, a Spell Stutter Sprite, a Blink of an Eye, a Fallen Shinobi, and a Polluted Delta. Largely our hands are both good. I think this is about as good as a 6 as you can ask for out of this Yuriko deck. With land to play on the first and second turn, a creature that has some sort of evasive ability to get past a blocker, and I also get to leave up Island and Lotus Petal in case I can catch a 1-drop like this Carpet of Flowers that Joe casts, and that is a bit of a blowout. I think Joe went into it knowing that if I did not present a 1-drop threat on the first turn, it was very difficult for me to go into Yuriko on the second turn, but he kind of got punished by the corner case of exactly Lotus Petal plus untapped blue source plus Spell Stutter Sprite to fight over his 1-drop. He was also pressured by his Halimar Depths to get that onto the battlefield. That enters tapped and has an ability that can slightly improve your draw step. So all of that kind of led to a circumstance where Joe kind of caught the bad end of it. Yuriko triggers here, reveals a Winds of Rebuke. There's a lot of bounce effects, and there's just a lot of cards that say remove target creature from the battlefield, even if it's just for a turn. Yuriko is largely a tempo deck. I like to, when I was building it, I was kind of surprised to see the similarities between this and a Delver of Secret strategy from Modern or Legacy, for those of you who might be familiar. Tempo, tempo, tempo. So Joe goes ahead and lays his third land. Looks like he's thinking about something here. Could be thinking about playing the Jace, leaving up Arcane Denial. He has a Spellseeker in his hand. He knows the next card he draws is going to be a Scavenger Grounds from the Halimar Depths. So I'm definitely a fan of running a blocker out here. It's difficult for me to think of a circumstance where I would be happy to use that Blink of an Eye in my hand on a Spellseeker, and just creating a blocker and tutoring up some way to interact with Yuriko, whether he doesn't have red mana, and I don't know if a Braid or Lightning Bolt's in his list. He's pulled what I believe to be a Pongify to the front of his hand, or to the front of his deck. Sorry, that would be one heck of a hand, but in some of the games we've played, Joe has had a hand of 20 or 30 cards at the end of his turn. So Yuriko gets in here. Obvious chump block. Appropriate chump block. I'm going to have to leave some way to interact with this Pongify. I don't know about the contents of his hand other than this one. He knows I still have the Spell Stutter Sprite. So I'm just going to go to discard here. Discard a Vraska's. And there's only like 32 lands in the deck, and there's only 35 mana sources total. The only artifact mana is the Lotus Petal, a Soul Ring, and the Talisman of Dominance. So here's a Rootbound Crag from Joe. He's now drawn all the cards that he saw with Halimar Depths. He's leaving all of his mana untapped. We're going to just force him to Pongify here, and he knows we have the Spell Stutter, so he has to have some sort of interaction for the Spell Stutter. So he has an Arcane Denial for the Spell Stutter Sprite. And I am going to let that resolve, so I get to draw the extra cards at the beginning of Joe's next turn. And I have a Force of Will pitching a Time Stretch to get rid of the Pongify and ensure that I get another trigger from Yuriko, revealing the Eldest Reborn. So at the beginning of Joe's turn, in his upkeep, I'll draw a card, and I'll draw 2 cards, and Joe will draw a card. We shut the audio off for these videos, but Joe really liked that series of plays, leaving the Arcane Denial to resolve and then Force of Willing to Pongify. Looks like Joe's going to almost tap out here for a Wilderness Reclamation, which since I don't really have anything to say about it, is not very different from just playing a 0 mana enchantment that says untap your lands every turn at the end of each one of your turns. Alright, so we drew a land. Get in there with Yuriko again. Reveal, I think that's a Throat Slitter. No, that's an Okiba Gang Shinobis. Okiba Gang, the rat guy that lets you, when it deals damage to an opponent, they discard 2 cards. It's a rat ninja. I think that card sees most of its constructed play in Pauper, but I was definitely happy to reveal a 5-drop here. There's only so long that you can afford to, in this game specifically, there's only so long you can afford to rely on Yuriko when you're not hitting your land drops. Like, eventually your opponent will pull ahead of you if you let them. Tapping the land in the Simic Signet for a Scavenging Ooze, that's a blocker. I might blink that at the end of turn with the Wreck trigger on the stack. Winds of Rebuke, okay. So, did we mill 2? We failed to mill 2 here. I might have just thought it was the blink of an eye in my hand. Again, Yuriko goes after Joe, getting those precious triggers. Revealing a land, that's fine. A land is about as good as revealing 4 or 5 drop here. Oh, looks like I drew another land anyway. Cabal Pit. That will handle the Scavenging Ooze if Joe doesn't leave enough green mana up to activate it. I have at least one creature in my graveyard with the Okiba Gang Rat Ninja fella from earlier. Jace, he's going to target himself. And Jace is putting in a lot of work. There's a Scavenger Grounds. That'll activate the Simic Signet to make another Scavenging Ooze. Joe's going to tap 5 and make Riku. Now, Riku's a 2/2, so he could just be ensuring that he has another blocker through the Cabal Pit. There's definitely 7 in my graveyard. I think he might rethink his play once he reads the land. Yeah, Cabal Pit's not a card everybody knows about. And he's going to tap out for that guy, whatever that guy is. So that'll prompt me a Murkmire Liege, or it's one of the lieges. It's the green-blue liege. So I have Threshold, so I can sack my Cabal Pit to kill the Scavenging Ooze with the liege on the stack, so it'll still be vulnerable to the -2/-2. Joe's been leaving blue mana up. I'm assuming he has some sort of instant speed interaction. Might have Chain of Vapor or Dispel or something like that. I'll make a Spectral Sailor in the end step. Flash Flyer. That'll be very good if I can get another land onto the battlefield. I know I have a Swamp, so I'll be able to play the Fallen Shinobi for sure off of the Spectral Sailor. This will go get an island. Nice double Masters, Noah Bradley, I think it is. Full art. Yeah. Not great, but it's what we had lying around. We're both thinking about what we're going to do here. Joe has about 1,000,000 mana. I'm going to aggressively tap out, try to trigger the Fallen Shinobi and the Yuriko. Land, that's nice. That's perfect. That's great. And Snap's not bad. Snap's fine. So Fallen Shinobi is a 5-power ninja by itself, so that liege is going to have to consider blocking next turn, and I think it will block. He has the opportunity to plus or minus his Jace. He's going to go with plus. We're both going to draw. That's probably fine, too. That buys him 2 more draw steps, or 2 more activations of Jace, because I'm definitely not attacking it. Looks like we have 5 mana going into something. What do we have here, Mr. Joe? We have a reconsideration of our play. We'll go to end step and trigger the Wilderness Wreck, so I'll get to go here and I'll draw. Still 2 island, 2 swamp on the battlefield, so we're not stuck on lands and we're not flooded. We're probably in a pretty sweet spot, especially with Snap. So I can play something like Snap and Blink of an Eye to get rid of his 2 creatures. There's a Mutavault. That is a surprisingly important card in this deck. And with Snap, I could filter. I could float mana somehow if I wanted to, and generate, sort of filter my Mutavault mana into black or blue, depending on which land I wanted to tap, and then untap with the Snap. Untap the old lands there. Looks like Joe was considering playing a Walk the Aeons. Thought better of it. I think he wants to get the copy effect with Riku off. Really push his advantage. I don't think there's any way that Joe can block with Riku. But I also think that at this point, yeah, I'm not going to take that chance. So I'm just going to Blink of an Eye the Riku. I'm going to leave some mana up, not get the draw out of it. My hand's going to be just full anyway. Just a lot of lands. Just a lot of lands. I think that's 4 lands. Yeah, which is fine. It's funny that we exiled 2 cards off the top of Joe's deck and then he drew an extra turn spell. That would have been lights out for us, I think. There's a Spectral Sailor instead of going to discard. That's one of the reasons that I'm not too worried about the mana that I had to pay into, or would have had to pay into Blink of the Eye to get the draw. Joe might think it's free to uptick his Jace here, as opposed to downtick it. He sees that I have so many cards in hand that I'm having to avoid going to discard by playing my instant speed creatures at sorcery speed. So it's pretty much just free loyalty for him. The problem with that is it can allow me to filter some of my bad cards into medium to good cards. There are just so many bad cards in this Yuriko list. Just objectively bad cards that are very useful and very good in this deck, but they're just not amazing cards. Triton Shore Stalker, Ornithopter, Memnite, plus all these super expensive spells, the time stretches, the Walk the Aeons of our own, Expropriate. There's a pretty high density of blanks in this deck, so I don't mind getting the free card, getting an opportunity to discard some stuff. There's a Malicious Affliction. I love that card. I wish there were more formats to play it in that it were very, very good in. I feel like it's great in mid to lower level competitive games. Just sometimes getting 2 things out of the way, even if one player controls one player controls another. Generally, EDH is played, in pods of 4, and in some hellscapes it's played in pods of 12. I don't know if you've been there. I know I've been there. It was great while I was there, and I would never go back. The 5-hour EDH games. I think this is it. Joe's at 8. This will be 9 damage plus the Yuriko triggers. I really think one of the key spots of the game was just turn 1, playing out the island and Lotus Petal and being able to catch the Carpet of Flowers. Hey, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and check out some of the other videos on our YouTube channel.